Hey everyone, Scott here, and today I want to show you real quickly how to manage attendance during an event. And what we're going to talk about is, first of all, just like the stations that you use during an event with check-ins, we're going to talk mostly about a roster station and then what to do if people show up who have not yet registered for that event. So I'm going to talk about all of those things. I'm going to be diving into an account that is already created though, because I really want to show you what's possible, not how to set everything up. So if you do need some help setting things up, don't hesitate to hit that question mark at the top right corner of all of our products. This is where there's going to be articles that talk about it, some more videos, and of course you can contact our support team through there. So let's get started. I first want to talk about the types of stations that are normal during an event. And we have three different types of stations. There's first a self station. You want mostly self stations at your event. These are for the people who know what they're doing. They've been here before. They just type in their phone number and they check people in and it prints out a label. Secondly, is a manned station. And this is more for your volunteers to, be behind the station. And that's like for, usually this would be like at a kiosk or something where you're welcoming new people so you can add and edit people. And lastly is the roster station. And that's really what I want to focus on is the roster station, because ideally you have a roster station in the hands with their phone maybe, or like an iPad or anything like that, of every one of the teachers that are helping you, orchestrate that event. So I'm going to show you this roster station here. And I want to show you just a couple things that really help. First of all, there are three different tabs up here at the top. There's Ready, there's Here, as you can see, and then there is Checked Out. So Ready is all the people that are just wanting to be checked in. If you have one of those situations where like people check in the lobby and they come back to the room later, then the teacher doesn't need to see the Ready tab at all. And you can actually hide that Ready tab for them so that all that they see is the Here tab. But in this particular case, I've got all three tabs shown and people are just showing up to that specific classroom. And you can just click on their names here. And I want to point out that as long as you're moving, we're not like changing anything for you. But once you wait a couple moments, then they move over. So that is basically how you check in. If you had labels set to print, it would connect to the printer and print those labels immediately too. That brings us to the Here tab. And I want to point out two things that you can do with the Here tab. This is really like, well, I'm going to point out more than two actually. We're going to talk about three things. This is really for your teacher to be able to handle things if there's an emergency or just so they can see what's going on with their classroom. So first thing I want to point out is this texting feature over here. So if there's anything that is happening with any of the kids in your classroom, you can hit this texting option. It'll pull up all of the like parents or the adults in the household so you can choose which number you want to send it to. This one has an invalid or missing number, so we would have to add it, but if it was there, you can select everybody. And basically you get to choose out of these options some of the things that you want to say to them. Just like, hey, I need some attention. Could you please come to this location? Or if you need some feeding or diaper, or if there's an emergency, or if you just want to say, hey, things are great, and send them a text that way. The second thing that I want to point out is medical notes. So Aubrey has this little line, this medical line over here. And if I tap on that, I can see what her medical notes are here. It says allergic to grass. I don't know if that's real, but that means we should not go outside with Aubrey. But basically, we kind of hide those normally because if it's the same kids over and over, you kind of know what their medical notes is. But if you do need to know, you can toggle that information right there. Lastly, the thing I want to point out is that there's an option to show the security code. So if you do want your teachers to have the security codes attached to that person that day, it's right there for you on the Here tab, which is pretty rad. Lastly, the fourth thing out of the three I was going to talk about is that if somebody there isn't a good example here, but if somebody had someone who is not authorized for pickup, it would also tell you that here. and you can click on a button there to show who that not authorized person is. So here tab, really made for teachers. That's the best that you can do. And of course, there is a checked out tab. So if I move them, the arrow's kind of pointing to the right to say that they're checked out, and I move them over there, then little baby Aaron Stewart is checked out right there. All right, so what happens? That is all for the roster station. I want to then talk about what happens when someone shows up to your event and they have not registered, and you want them to register. What can you do with that? And I want to point out one of the coolest things that we have, and that is on every single page on Church Center, so let's say this is the event that we're putting on, the summer celebration. And what I really want is people to have a quick access so that they can register. On every one of these pages, there is this shareable code at the very bottom right that you can maybe barely read. If I click on that, there is a QR code that people can scan. So what you can do is you can download this QR code, print it out, and what I've seen is people have that QR code like taped to the desk of, if you haven't registered, you can register right there. So there's 4 options here to get people registered. One is that QR code. 2 is if you just have someone like at your help desk or something like that, they can register for them through Church Center. So you're basically walking through this page right here. Or you can have them register on the admin side as well. But that's like the manual way to get them registered. But let's say that it's like super busy, and what you really want to care about is getting people safely through the door. Then if you're using the check-ins and registration connection, what needs to happen is you have to use a manned station, and you can just check them in really quickly. So that won't register from the event, but if you prefer to get them through the door safely and securely as quickly as possible, you can just check them in and then follow up later to get them registered if they need to do that. And of course, you can do a combo of all of these things, like if it is you can add them as a manned station, and then you can send like an automation or an email afterwards to ask them to register if they're coming back like the next day or something like that. So that's it. I do also want to point out one thing that you can do during a live event. Let's pretend that you have a self station and your church is using the Church Center app. So those people who download the app, they know what's going on. They're here all the time. What you can do is you can create all your check-ins and registrations events will show up on the Church Center app, and they can pre-check from there. And when they pre-check, it is the fastest way to get them through the door. So what I've seen is there's like a special self station that people have. It's almost like a TSA pre-check where there's a line that just moves a lot faster than the other lines. And what that does is it kind of markets the Church Center app too, because people are like, how do I get in that faster line? And you're like, oh, just download this app. And then they're connected with the church a lot more there. So that is basically everything of what you can do during a live event for children's ministry. We talked about like managing your classroom, getting people through the door, and also having people register if they haven't yet registered. Thanks for watching.